Hey guys, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk Shokugeki no Soma chapter 263. And finally, we are at the end, everyone. We've done it. It's over. The regimental Shokugeki, it's done. Like we're home free. And like this chapter brings a few, I think, pretty good talking points with the whole shakeup that we get with the rankings and the seats and all that. But first, let's all just pat ourselves on the back. We made it. We are finally done, and now we can move on. We can go to see what the next arc is going to be. We can go to see how life is going to be now. And you know, with these kind of things, there's always that fear of, is Shokugeki no Soma ending? Like, you always have like a little bit of fans on the side, and like me as well, I'm still kind of on the fence. But every week that we get by and we don't have an announcement saying that the Shokugeki no Soma manga is ending, that's always a good week. Ideally, we don't get that announcement next week. Ideally, we don't get that announcement for a few years, depending on, you know, that they can actually continue making entertaining content. And you know, my hopes kind of renewed because I was reading the comments for this chapter, and I saw someone mentioning like one of the reasons that Tsukasa and Rindo were so overpowered could be also just because they had the money to actually go travel around the world and learn stuff. And in that light, you know, people always point out to the blue as one of those big things that we have slated in the future that we could use if we wanted to extend the story. But in the short term, if we end up getting Shokugeki no Soma being like a international affair, like Soma himself, he just packs up his things and goes officially, while still in school, he just like travels to the Amazon to learn stuff. I think that would be amazing. And I remember when I brought this up last time, there was someone in the comments that also mentioned, like, you know, Soma or Joshiro doesn't want Soma to go down his path, so Soma following him and just dropping out of school is a bit unnecessary at this point. And you know what, that was a good point in that time. So, you know, if they bring it back, and if this becomes a possibility that we have the Soma International Adventure, or Shokugeki no Soma International, where we see Soma just meeting people across the world and maybe meeting the equivalent of Totsuki in other countries, I think that would be fine. I think that would be a really nice way to add variety to the manga. And I would love to see more incredible food-based powers. Like, you know, in this one, the Nakiris clearly have the ability to strip people at a distance. I want to see someone who has the ability to make people light themselves on fire when they have a taste of his spicy cooking, and their clothing also just, like, you know, kind of disappears in flames. I think that would be amazing. I'm still pushing for the dueling monster evolution of Shokugeki no Soma. I think it would be hilarious, because if you're going to be stripping people with telekinesis, you might as well just kind of go all the way. Anyway, those are like the smaller notes, the just frivolous notes. They're not that important. They're just like things that I'm hoping for. I think taking advantage of the power of the Elite 10 and seeing how the characters use it, I think that would be pretty cool. And it's also like interesting, the last thing for that, to note that that system, the Elite 10 system, I guess, is a system where the strong get stronger, because when you look at it, like, they're giving resources to the kids at the top to only sharpen them more. I think that's a very interesting way of going about it. But at the same time, it's like, you're pretty much saying that, I guess, in just the sentiments that go into the system, you're saying that your strength earns you the right to get stronger. I think that'd be like how you would describe the system that the Elite 10 created when it comes to their growth development after taking one of the seats. So that kind of development, applying it to Soma and his crew, I think would be really interesting. Now, speaking of Soma and his crew, and guys, I don't think we're going to talk much about like the little details in the chapter. We're going to be talking more about the ideas presented here. Let's just start with Soma himself. So Soma gets the first seat here from Erina, and you know, it doesn't sit well with me. Erina taking her position makes way more sense in like the context of the show, but with Soma, this just seems like a symbolic gesture. And then there's also the issue of Soma's character. Will he actually be willing to do the majority of the paperwork that the first seat has to deal with? So, you know, we're going to talk about that. Like, so with Soma, first off, does Soma deserve the first seat? Well, I don't know. Soma's abilities here came out as a product of Erina's. And if it wasn't for the fact that Erina took the headmaster position, like, Soma definitely getting the first seat position and Erina not getting it would have just been pretty jarring. And like, when I look at the Erina Soma combination, like, yeah, you could say, like, yeah, Soma's unbeatable if Erina's helping him out, but like in this whole situation, it really does look like Soma is the fire and Erina is the hammer. Like, Soma allows for the situation to happen. He allows for the creation of or the molding of a pretty good result, but Erina's the one that's forcing it to happen. So, you know, it's an interesting, like, it's actually a very interesting dynamic to have for the two main characters of the series. And when you look at it, the dynamic between Erina and Soma as main characters is relatively unique in shonen manga right now. Like, the current running manga series, Erina has a bigger role to play in Soma's climactic victory here than most other heroines end up having for their respective main male character. I think that's something that's worth of celebrating, or sorry, worth a celebration and something to take note of. I'm trying to remember, like, I'm just running it through my head to make sure that that statement's more or less true. Like, Hero Academia, Ochako doesn't have that kind of impact on Izuku.
Exactly.
Thank you. Ichigo, Orihime, Rukia? Nope, not really. Rukia doesn't stand as an equal to Ichigo at a certain point. Erina here still stands more or less as an equal, especially with her symbolic gesture of telling people to call her Erina-chi. That's pretty much telling people to just that she likes her days at the Polar Star Dorm and she wants to keep going that. Toriko, nope. Naruto, Sakura, nope. Not at all. Nowhere near. Other main series today, the people over with Dr. Stone, no, not really. It's mostly the main character pushing that. Promised Neverland, actually Promised Neverland is probably the only other place that you can probably find this kind of equality between the two main characters, or in Promised Neverland's case it's three main characters. So really it's a rarity in the current shonen manga, or the current shonen jump manga, so I think this is a pretty good distinguishing factor for Soma. Mind you, it took us a while to get there, but it's still nice to have it here. And, like, you know, the chapter does a good job at showcasing how the two interact with each other. But going back to, like, the whole Soma thing, yeah, the issue with it is just it's ultimately not coming from Soma, and I do wonder about things like, well, what if Megishima or Ishiki choose to challenge Soma, right? Like, I want to know the finalized rankings. Like, they don't have to play for seats. I would just like to know if Soma can overcome Megishima like every 1 out of 5 times. I think that would be worthwhile knowing. I want to know is a thing. And it doesn't really matter if Megishima was to take the first seat temporarily for a while, right? Because he's already a third year. He's going to be graduating soon. I want to see, well, can Ishiki take the spot from Soma? Like, is Ishiki actually at a level? Because Ishiki is also a genius at the level of Erina. He just doesn't have a specialized tool like Erina does. So, you know, I'm just... The first seat thing doesn't sit well with me when it comes to, like, actual power rankings, because the fight that took place to, like, that ultimately resulted in him taking the first seat wasn't a fight that he got by his own merits. So I just want to know exactly where things stand. But the thing is, Megishima, Ishiki, they're both people who would probably let Soma just take it, because they don't really care after a certain point. Ishiki is more about watching his friends grow than he is about challenging them. So on that line, it's like, you know, I just want to know where everyone stands. That's my ultimate idea with that. And then, like, going into Soma's characterization, again, the paperwork thing, I'm more I wouldn't be surprised if Soma had a Shokugeki with Takumi and then just bombed it and gave Takumi the first seat. Like, I'm sure Soma would still try his best and, like, maybe try an experimental dish. Maybe he tries to make the peanut butter squid again and tries to make it better than what Erina made, and he ends up failing, and then that's how Takumi takes the first seat and Soma gets relegated down to, like, second or third. Either way, he still has a lot of power in those seats, and they give him a lot more freedom. If the author plays it the other way around and actually goes to make Soma more responsible, that will be terrifying. That's like that's so much character development. And man, if the author tied it into, like, well, Soma worked at a restaurant, there must be paperwork that goes into managing a small business. Maybe Soma's actually set up for the paperwork aspects of a restaurant. We don't know. Maybe that's something that his mother did back when she was still in the series or in the, I'm really not sure if Soma's mom is dead or if she's just on an extended vacation somewhere, but assuming she's dead, maybe that's what she did for the Yukihira restaurant. Maybe she was like an accountant or something, so maybe Soma picked up a few things there. It's just the potential right now is like, it's so borderline because you don't know what Soma's gonna do next chapter or the second chapter after this, so gonna wait and see. Now going into Erina, you know, there is a question of, does Erina, is it actually worth her being in the headmaster position? And I think it's important to look at what Erina was doing before this, and it was also important to look at what Tsukasa was doing. Like, we know that the kids organize, or the Elite 10 organizes things to the point that they are the ones responsible for getting sponsors in. They're the ones responsible for getting processing like the regular student affairs. They're the ones responsible for getting the supplies sent into Totsuki. The level of responsibility that the Elite 10 have shown, it already says to me that the students are capable when they're at the Elite 10 level. Erina in particular, she's already been working with grown clients since she was a child. Erina already has a personal assistant. Erina already has a system. Erina already does business meetings. She does business transactions. She gets paid for food tasting. When it comes down to it, Erina's probably super well equipped to actually take the headmaster position, because like, the thing is, Erina's groomed for that position. So with her, whatever added stress that the headmaster has over the first seat, I don't think it's that big of a jump, and I don't think it's that big of a deal for Erina. If anything, with Erina, what she could end up doing is just she stops doing the food tastings and just takes on the full responsibilities of being a headmaster. That's all. All that changes is now that Erina is going to be one of the big judges in a lot of the important Shokugekis. Just trade one devil for the other, one work source for the other, and I think Erina's going to be fine. It actually makes total sense to have Erina do it. She's already regular in terms of, well, Erina needs an education. No, she doesn't. She doesn't need an education from Totsuki. She's already beyond whatever levels Totsuki does, and unless Totsuki does basic arithmetic courses or basic math and Japanese or Japanese, whatever courses they need in high school, unless Totsuki's also doing that, which I don't think they are, Erina can just say screw it to the school system and just be like, I can tell what makes food good, so I don't need any of your help, and just take the headmaster position. I don't think anyone's gonna argue that, especially not when this girl single-handedly, not single-handedly, after getting spurned on by Soma, stopped what she was doing, used the last 10 minutes to think about what she was gonna do, and just made an entirely new dish from scratch in the last 10 minutes. Actually, was it from scratch? I'm gonna assume she salvaged a bit, but she still reorganized herself and redirected herself in the last 10 minutes of a match and made an amazing dish. So when it comes to that reality, Erina being the authority in the school, in the same way that she's the authority on food, just makes sense to me. I don't think, when you consider the context, that you would argue Erina's place versus arguing Soma's place. But anyway, those were the main points that I had. Like, this chapter is pretty great in that light. You know, sometimes the Shokugeki no Soma chapters give you like some pretty cool things to talk about. In terms of the other things in the chapters, we have Azami walking away with his clothes on in his arms, and we have a shot of his back. I think the author is trying to do something with showing the Azami's back there. Because, you know, like, there is that trope in anime that you show the back of a person who is strong, because, you know, that's like honor or whatever. But here it's like Azami walks away in defeat. Rindo gets to see Tsukasa really enjoying himself, and she has a really nice shot in this panel. The Elite 10 also all give meaningful shots, but really beyond just people staring at each other, the biggest points were the ones that we just talked about. Anyway, guys, would love to hear your comments on this one. I think this was a pretty great ending. Was it great? Yeah. This was a pretty great ending. I didn't see it coming. It's a great ending. It was awesome. So guys, let me know what you thought down below. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.